Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I think we can do much louder than that. Today is not even a fasting day, so let's loudly call out for the mercy. Everyone loudly. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Thank you. So we'll start off with the class by His Holiness Bir Krishna Goswami Maharaj, and he's going to start with the Damodar Ashtakam. I'll also put it up on the screen so that devotees can follow along. So we'll have the bhajan on the screen, and while the Damodar Ashtakam is being sung, devotees can come and offer ghee lamps to Radha Golokanda. Yashoda Damodar is here on the altar, Radha Sham Sundar. So while the Damodar Ashtakam is coming, we'll request all devotees, please come forward and offer ghee lamps. Also, we would like to thank, yesterday actually we had a wonderful, global peaceful prayer procession in Morrisville, and this is particularly for the devotees in Bangladesh who have been facing with very strong opposition and oppression, and there's been so many incidents that's we cannot even describe, but we are actually praying. Maharaj actually yesterday, he led the procession, and at the end in the park, he gave a very, very powerful, very wonderful message to the whole world. So if you have not seen that message, please go to Maharaj's Facebook message. He gave a wonderful, powerful message about having that respect for each and every living entity. Giving everyone the opportunity to practice their spiritual practice, and then appreciating the diversity in different people and finding the unity among them. It was very, very powerful message. So please, everyone, you can go to Maharaj's Facebook page, hear that message. So yesterday we had a very nice procession. We'd like to thank Ujjwala Rasagya Mataji. She organized the whole thing very nicely. So thank you so much for everyone who could join us. And we may have one more procession. So Mataji is working on more details. Like many people came and said we should have a much bigger procession, and more people need to be aware of what's going on in Bangladesh, and also spread this message of love all over the world. Okay, and coming up on the calendar on 6th of November, Saturday, we'll have our grand Diwali and Govardhan Puja celebration. So please mark your calendar. This time we are celebrating it on a Saturday. So Saturday, starting at 4 p.m., we'll have a wonderful celebration with a big Govardhan hill made of sweets. And then there'll be Damodar Ashtakam, Maharaj will be giving class. And then also we'll have special food stalls this time, many prasadam stalls. And then there are many drama and dance performances. So it's a very, very wonderful evening. So please spread the message. We'll be sending out the flyers on our email and our WhatsApp groups. Please share it on your local groups. Invite everyone to be a part of this grand Diwali and Govardhan celebration. So 6th of November. Saturday, and then on Sunday is the disappearance day of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. So on Sunday, which is actually a very, very important day for us, evening again 4 p.m. we'll have a wonderful celebration honoring Srila Prabhupada. So that weekend, Saturday and Sunday, 2 days we'll have program. Okay, so we'll have some more details, but we'll do it after the class. We have devotees who sponsor the feast, but we'll announce them after the Damodar Ashtakam and the class. So now, without further delay, we will go on to the Damodar Ashtakam.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to have the Damodar Ashtakam. Everybody can get an opportunity to offer a lamb to Lord Damodar, but we want to go rather quickly, or else we're going to be here for an hour with everybody here offering a lamb. So we can have people come. So go real quickly when you do it. And one other thing, the rhythm is going to actually be different than you're used to with the Damodar Ashtaka. So you'll have to follow my rhythm. It's not the standard rhythm. It's a standard melody, but not the standard. It's a little bit rock and roll. So, but it goes a little quicker. Namam Ishwaram Sajit Anandarupam Latsat Kundalam Gokule Brajamanam Namam Ishwaram Sajit Anandarupam Yasoda Bino Loka Javamanam Yasoda Bino Loka Javamanam Paramjamat Jantato Trujagopya Yasoda Beolokalat Davamanam Paramishtamachandato Trujagopya Rudantamo Netra Numamajantam Karambuku Yumena Santakanetram Dantamo Netra Yumamajantam Karambuku Yumena Santakanetram Mukusat Sakam Patwile Kanka Kanta Sita Gribam Damodaram Bhakti Badam Usat Sakam Patwile Kanka Kanta Sita Gribam Damodaram Badam Iti Drixali Lapir Anhanda Kunde Swakosham Nema Jantam Akyabayantam Tadi Chita Geshu Bhaktali Tattvam Unaprimatastam Shatta Pritibande Tadi Chita Geshu Bhaktanatam Unaprimatastam Shatta Vitivande Vadam Deva Moksham Na Namoksha Navinda Nachanya Brine Hamvari Shadapia Nam Deva Moksham Na Javadimba Nachanya Vene Hamvari Nabiha Idam Deva Purnata Gopalabalam Sadame Manasyavi Rastam Kimanyai Idam Deva Purnata Gopalabalam Sarame Manasyavi Kimanyai Idam Temukam Posham Atanta Delayar Vitam Kuntalai Snekta Ratasya Govya Mustumbitam Bimba Ratam Rame Manasya Virastam Malam Lakshalabai Namo Deva Namadara Ananta Vishnu Prasida Prabhu Duga Shalabdi Magyam Namo Deva Namodar Ananta Vishnu Prasida Prabhu Ripatristi restate dinambatano Graneshama madhyame yakshi drishya Ripatristi restate dinambatano Graneshama madhyame Yaksidesha Kuvera Bajo Mata Mujai Vadyadva Twayam Mokshitao Bhakti Vajo Kritocha Tata prema bhaktim swakam mekhyacha Namoche grahomi se damodareha Tata prema bhaktim swakam mekhyacha Namoche grahomi se Damodareha Namaste Sutamne Surat Dipti Damde Dwadi Otarai Yatta Vishvashadame Namo Radhe Kaya Twad Diyat Priyaya Namo Namtale Laya Devaya Tubhyam Namo Radhe Kaya Twa Diyat Priyaya Namo Namtale Laya Devaya Tubhyam Namo Radhe Kaya Twa Namo Namtale Laya Devaya Tubhyam Namam Vishwaram Satchit Anandarupam Lasatkundatam Gokule Prachamanam Namam Vishwaram Satchit Anandarupam Satkundalam Gokule Yatsoda me olukalad Tapamagnam Paramrichnama Jandado Rujagopya Yasoda Leono Galad Yavamagnam Amistama Jandado Jagopa Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Jaya Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Radhe Jaya Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Radhe Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Radha Gonoke Nandurada Gonoke Nandurade Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Shri Radhe Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paravatikacharya also Tada Satashi Shimad His Divine Grace Abhaya Charanana Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anandakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Sridharidas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shirve Gadadha Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopika Patna Shyam Kund Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Mathuranam Ki Jai Jagannatha Swami Ki Jai Yumunamai Ki Jai Shrimati Tulasi Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrindigajai. Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharani Nivashesha Srinivadi Paschatade Jatori. So I'm going to read the translation to this poem to Lord Damodar, but written by Srila Satyavrata Muni, not Satyavrata who's here, but some other Muni. And this is actually from the Padma Purana, one of the ancient Vedic literatures. And today we're going to speak about Lord Damodar's pastimes. So, to the Supreme Controller who possesses an eternal form of blissful knowledge, whose glistening earrings swing to and fro, who manifested himself in Gokula, who stole the butter that the gopis kept hanging from the rafters of their storerooms, and who then quickly jumped up and ran in retreat in fear of Mother Yashoda, but was ultimately caught. To that Supreme Lord Sri Damodar offer my humble obeisances. Upon seeing his mother's whipping stick, he cried and rubbed his eyes again and again with his two lotus hands. His eyes were fearful and his breathing quick, and his mother Yashoda bound his belly with ropes. He shivered in fright, and his pearl necklace shook. To the Supreme Lord Sri Damodar, who is bound by his devotees' love, I offer my humble obeisances. Those super excellent pastimes of Lord Krishna's babyhood drown the inhabitants of Gokula in pools of ecstasy. To the devotees who are attracted only to his majestic aspect of Narayan and Vaikuntha, the Lord herein reveals, I am conquered and overwhelmed by pure loving devotion. To the Supreme Lord Damodar, my obeisances hundreds and hundreds of times. O Lord, although you are able to give all kinds of benedictions, I do not pray to you for liberation, nor eternal life in Vaikuntha, nor any other boon. My only prayer is that your childhood pastimes may constantly appear in my mind. O Lord, I do not even want to know your feature of Paramatma. I simply wish that your childhood pastimes may ever be enacted in my heart. O Lord, the cheeks of your blackish lotus face, which is encircled by locks of curling hair, have become reddened like bimba fruit due to Mother Yashoda's kisses. What more can I describe than this? Millions of opulences are of no use to me, but may this vision constantly remain in my mind. O unlimited Vishnu, O Master, O Lord, be pleased upon me. I am drowning in an ocean of sorrow and am almost like a dead man. Please shower the rain of mercy upon me, uplift me, and protect me with your nectarian vision. O Lord Damodar, in your form as a baby, Mother Yashoda bound you to a grinding stone with a rope for tying cows. You then freed the sons of Kubera, Manigriva, and Nalakuvara, who were cursed to stand as trees, and you gave them the chance to become your devotees. Please bless me in the same way. I have no desire for liberation into your effulgence. O Lord, the entire universe was created by Lord Brahma, who was born from your abdomen, which was bound with a rope by Mother Yashoda. To this rope I offer my humble obeisances. I offer my obeisances to your most beloved Srimati Radharani and to your unlimited pastimes. So, one of the things we have, Omagana Tivaranda Shah Garanjana Shlakaya Chakshur Meditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So, for those of you who don't know, Lord Damodar is God. And for those of you who don't know who God is, well, too bad. But God is someone who is omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent, all these O words. And why does he put himself in such a situation that he's actually being tortured? Or his mother is running after him. Let's say his mother is running after him. And he's scared. How can he be scared? Because as we find in the Srimad Bhagavatam, God is actually Apta Kama and he's Swarat. That means he's independent of everyone. He can get whatever Swarat means. He can get whatever he wants whenever he wants because that's his nature. He just desires it and he gets it. So how is he allowed, or why does he do that? Put himself in a situation. These are interesting questions. Well, only in Vrindavan does he do this. in the Braj pastimes. Not in Vaikuntha, not in anywhere else. You don't find Lord Narayan being chased by Lakshmi or by anybody else in the Vaikuntha planets. You don't find any of this going on. You find everybody in the Vaikuntha planets worshiping the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And many times asking him for benedictions, but in any case, they're serving him purely. But in Goloka Vrindavan, you have things going on that are not going on anywhere else. And Krishna exhibits 4 different aspects of his personality and his pastimes that aren't exhibited anywhere else. And this is described by Srila Rupa Goswami in the Nectar of Devotion, the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And those 4 are that, one, he has unexcelled beauty. Unexcelled beauty means, of course, Narayan, Lord Vishnu, is very beautiful and attractive too. But Krishna is so attractive that Lord Narayan makes plans to see him. And Lord Narayan and Krishna are the same person. That's also inconceivable. Advaita Chuta Nadir Anantarupam Ajam Parana Purusham Navayovanam Cha. So the story is as follows about Lord Narayan making plans to see Krishna, is that once upon a time, Lord Narayan was stealing the sons of a Brahmin right after they were born. This is a story in the Krishna book. And the reason he was stealing them is because he wanted Krishna ultimately to come to see him. And we find Lord Narayan, Lord Vishnu, he is there lying on Anantashesh in the causal ocean. And as he's lying on Anantashesh in the causal ocean, he's wanting to see Krishna. So what happens in this particular story is that after he's stolen a few of the children right after they were born of this Brahmin goes to Dwarka, to Krishna, and he complains. And Krishna, at this point, doesn't say anything, but Krishna's friend, Arjuna, he says, I will protect your children from being stolen or from disappearing right after they're born. And Arjuna says, if I can't do this, I will immolate myself. That means burn myself up in a fire. So he goes there, and lo and behold, one of the sons, the newer son of the Brahmana, disappears. And so Arjuna gets ready to immolate himself. And as he's getting ready to immolate himself, Krishna comes and says, it's not a good idea. Probably Krishna needs him later for the battle of Kurukshetra. So he says, not a good idea. Come with me. So Krishna harnesses his transcendental spaceship, which is pulled by horses. And who's ever heard of a spaceship being pulled by horses? I mean, normally, like if you're Elon Musk, then you then you have to load tons and tons of fuel in there. But imagine if we could read about NASA harnessing a spaceship to horses and going up in the air. But Krishna can do anything. Not ordinary horses. So Krishna harnesses his chariot to the horses, takes Arjuna, and they pierce through the coverings of the material universe, through all the duplicate universes, and ultimately they come, and the coverings of the universe, and ultimately they come to where Lord Vishnu is. And Lord Vishnu says, yeah, I just made this trick just to see you. So even Lord Vishnu wants to see Krishna. Krishna has unexcelled beauty. And in addition, we talked about the 4 qualities. In addition, Krishna has intimate pastimes. This is what's being described here. Intimate pastimes means that his devotees forget that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And not only do the devotees forget, and this is also connected with loving devotees, intimate pastimes, loving devotees, he forgets that he's God. That's why he's afraid in this particular pastime. And why does he forget that he's God? Because he wants to enjoy. It can get pretty boring being God if you just stay in that position, right? I've never experienced it. But I imagine it can get pretty boring. Wherever you want, you get immediately without asking anybody. That sounds attractive, doesn't it? Okay, I would like a new car. Okay, like a new temple. Okay, what else should I ask for? Anybody have any ideas? What? A computer. Can you imagine? That's pretty stupid to ask God for a computer, a new temple. It's like that story that Prabhupada told about the man who wanted a touchstone. And he went to Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva said, yeah, I can arrange for a touchstone. You just go to see this devotee, Sanatana Goswami, who's sitting on the bank of the Yamuna chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So he went to see Sanatana Goswami, and Sanatana Goswami said, yes, I have a touchstone. Touchstone means something that can turn anything to gold, like the Midas touch. And so Sanatana Goswami pointed out his garbage. And he said, it's in the garbage pail. And so the man went to the garbage pail, picked up the touchstone, and he started to touch everything. And he was really happy. Everything is gold now. It's better than Bitcoin. So he didn't know that though. So he was touching everything. And everything was turning to gold. And he was just, wow, I got it made. So then he thought for a second. He said, well, why was this in the garbage? And so, sometimes the attraction to gold, anyway, is described described as similar to another substance. Anyway, we're not going to talk about that substance because it's a polite company here. Another substance is yellow. So he went back to Sanatana Goswami, and he said to Sanatana Goswami, you must have something better. And Sanatana Goswami said, what? He said, you should, first of all, do what? No one knows the story? Throw the touchstone away. This is actually very interesting. It's also metaphorical. That if we want to understand spiritual reality, we have to give up our attachments to the things that are actually holding us back. Like that story Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur told about a marriage party that was going across the river, and on the other side of the river there was going to be the marriage. And so I guess it was the groom's party or whatever. They were going across the river, and they went to sleep in the boat, and they woke up and they were in the same place. And they found out later on it was due to what? The anchor was there. So you can row your boat gently across the stream, but you're not going to get gently across the stream as long as you keep your anchor in, so you can row your spiritual life gently across whatever. And So the point is, this man was told, getting back to the touchstone story, the man was told you have to actually give up this touchstone. You have to throw it in the river, not only give it up. And so this man was thinking, it's something more valuable, but I can't give up this touchstone. As they say, what is a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush? He was thinking like that, and he was having a traumatic reaction. That's called a conflict situation, where, approach situation, can't have both. And so he didn't go back to beg to Sanatana Goswami, please let me have both. He understood this was a direct instruction. So eventually he throws the touchstone in the river, and he goes back to Sanatana Goswami. Sanatana Goswami gives him, the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So that's the most valuable thing. So sometimes it requires giving something up to get something nice. So, on the other hand, getting back to Krishna's quality, so Krishna has these intimate pastimes, and he renounces temporarily his remembrance of his position as God so that he can enjoy interactions in a very intimate way, because enjoyment means enjoying ras, different tastes. Like all of us, we like to eat, maybe, and we like different tastes. Like, I think everybody likes garam masala. No? For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, it means a hot mixture of spices. You know, really hot spices. I remember I was just sitting with someone about 2 days ago, and they said, bring in the chili peppers, because it was just very bland food. So Krishna likes spicy relationships. And that's why he accepted this particular relationship with Mother Yashoda. And the devotees enjoy these relationships too. Feeling angry with God. Chastising God. Being worried about God. This actually brings a devotee closer and more intimate with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is what's going on here. So here's the story. In a nutshell, I'll make reference to my notes. Once upon a time, Krishna's mother, of course, I'm going to stop at certain junctures. God doesn't have a mother. God has a mother and doesn't have a mother. That's a contradiction there. God doesn't have a mother because he's sarva karna karanam. Like if I go to any of you, I could say, who was your mother? Hopefully you'll know. Nowadays you could say I was born from a test tube. Test tube baby. So anyway, but who was your mother? Okay, my mother was so-and-so like that. And then who was your mother's mother? I probably would oftentimes make that argument to prove there's actually a God, because God is the father of 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 the father. Aham bija padapitaha, as Krishna says in the Gita. So there's always, but then, who is the first father from whom all the fathers came? Just like we were discussing with someone the other day about the origin of the universe, the Big Bang. I have an appointment for tomorrow at 5:30 too, so. That's interesting, isn't it? So, okay, back to the story. So I was talking to someone, I was at the university and talking to a very nice gentleman about he said, I believe in God because the scientists say they don't know what was before the Big Bang. They say that there was, there's different theories. They say there was nothing and all of a sudden, boom. Or the singularity, So anyway, there's different discussions of this whole thing. But something caused it to happen. Because everything we see in this world has a cause. Isn't it? Everything has a cause. I'm here because I walked here, because I wanted to walk here. Anyway, so many causes. God is beyond the causal chain. Even his own psychology has no cause to it. This I've mentioned many times before. My psychology has a cause to it. I like certain foods, just like one of the foods I like the most is something called kasha, which none of you have heard about. And that's because when I was young, I was fed it. There's a cause to it. There's a cause. And if I was fed pakoras when I still like pakoras, but anyway, then I would like pakoras. Or jalebis. I do like jalebis. But they're not good for my health. But anyway, so generally we could find out the things we like, our psychological traits, are actually due to past experiences within this world. So you say, why does Krishna like butter? Well, because when he was a little baby, that's all he had. No. Why does Krishna feed butter to the monkeys? I don't know. Why did he choose monkeys? Why didn't he just choose bears or deer or what other animals are there? the boars. You know, big pigs they have in Vrindavan? Boars. So why does he pick the monkeys? There's no cause to it. Why does Krishna like cows more than any other animal? Is there a reason? No. There's no reason. Besides that he likes it. That's what I mean by the cause of all causes. There's absolutely no reason. So, anyway, so that's God's nature. And he does everything for his own enjoyment. Why does he do it? Makes him happy. That's it. Aptakama, Swarat, all these different descriptions of the Supreme Personality. Got it. So let's get back to the story. So Krishna is there, and he's wants his milk from his mother. And as I mentioned before, Krishna actually has no mother. And he has a mother. Because he's the cause of all causes. But he has a mother for pastime's sake. So he's thinking, I want my mother's breast milk. Meantime, his mother is churning the butter, churning the milk to make it butter, or churning the yogurt. Actually, they would make butter from yogurt. She's churning that, and Krishna calls out to her, and he stops her. So he's thinking, you got to do something more important than churning this butter, Mom. And so she starts to feed him. And actually, when she's churning the butter, what she's doing is she's singing about Krishna's pastimes, too. She's not just churning the butter and thinking, oh, my God, I got to churn this butter every day. She's doing it. Can you imagine? You know, like most of you, are married, cook for your husbands. Oh, my God, I got to feed that guy every day, And he's demanding from me all these different foods. I think the ladies who laugh the loudest have the most problems with that. So, Mother Yashoda is not thinking that. She's churning the butter for Krishna out of devotion and thinking it's for the pleasure of Krishna. And she's singing, as all talk is singing in Vrindavan, she's singing Krishna's pastimes about different things that Krishna has done, like killing the Putana, the Trinavarta, and all these other nice demons that Krishna has killed and saved the devotees in Vrindavan. So she starts feeding Krishna, but then what happens is the milk on the stove starts to boil over, and she rushes. Obviously you don't want to lose milk because it's Krishna's milk. It's meant for Krishna's pleasure. It's not just Maya, it's meant for Krishna's pleasure. And Krishna gets really upset. My mother has neglected me. Now remember, he's Aptakama. He can manifest unlimited mothers. Lakshmi Sahasrasata. He unlimited Lakshmis. What does he need? What does he need one mother for? He could just call someone else. Or even manifest. Just like one time, Krishna in the form of Narayan Rishis, he was meditating, and Indra thought he would lure Narayan Rishis away with some beautiful girls from the heavenly planets. So he brought them here. There, not here. Don't worry, not here. I got to be careful. Not to Nugaloka. He brought them there to where they were meditating. And also there was Cupid, Ananga, and springtime. And Krishna just yawned. And he just produced someone more beautiful out of his body, right? And that was Urvasi, along with some others. And he said to the demigods, if you like one, take it back with you. Take her back with you. And that's how Urvasi came about. So the point I'm making is that Krishna can produce unlimited milk, unlimited mothers, but because of this yoga maya, to allow himself to enjoy the intimate relationships with his devotees, he feels that I'm dependent on my mother. He's not dependent on anybody. He's independent. It's Swarat. He's independent. And so he gets very angry. What happens when you feel someone's neglected you? You get angry. And what do? You don't break a butter pot, but anyway. You throw your pots and pans in the kitchen, right? No, not really, Divyanita. Yes, okay. So you... It's not about your life, but anyway, you throw your pots and pans, or you break your butter pot, if you happen to be a little baby, and then you take the butter and you start eating it all, and you eat so much you can't eat anymore, and you start feeding some to the monkeys. This is actually very attractive. He's feeding it to the monkeys. And Yashoda Mai comes back, that's Krishna's mother, comes back, and she discovers the broken butter pot, and she's wondering where Krishna is. And there's butter footprints. Because there's so much butter all over the place. This is the opulence of Vrindavan. There's so much butter all over the place that he's leaving footprints with butter in them. And she finds him. She sneaks up on him. And she finds him feeding butter to the monkeys. He's seated on this mortar, for grinding grains like that. And she silently approaches with a stick. Really angry. She's not going to hit him, obviously. Prabhupada said that parents should not hit children. That's Prabhupada's instruction. Prabhupada heard one time that a teacher was actually doing that, and Prabhupada said, I'll beat him. He would beat that teacher. So no, corporal punishment is not there. But she's giving a little scare. She approaches him like that with a stick in her hand, and Krishna runs away. He runs away, and he's really scared. Whereas it's described in the poem we just read that fear personified is afraid of him. That Yamaraj, the god of death, is afraid of Krishna. And it's described that the wind is blowing out of fear of Krishna. Everything, even your tornadoes, hurricanes, and all that other stuff, whatever you're experiencing, even global warming, whatever is happening is out of fear, obedient fear of Krishna. And you see this sometimes in certain religious practices that people are very much afraid. I was talking to someone of a different religion about 2 days ago, and he was describing that a lot of religion is fear-based. And actually, that's not bad. It's a step up from not respecting God at all. And we find that Krishna does that to a certain extent in the Gita. What does he do? He manifests the universal form, chapter 11, and it's pretty fearful. Arjuna is scared, and he says, let me see your actual form as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Let me see your four-handed form and then the two-handed form. He's scared. So sometimes it's good to worship God in awe and reverence, if you're not on the platform of intimacy, which most of us are not. That's why Prabhupada said, in the beginning, before we actually are completely purified, Shuddha Hama, He Rava Shri Vrindavana, we worship the deities in a mood of reverence. Not so much fear that, we start shaking. Oh my God, I can't go near the deities. I remember one time, this is a personal story, that I went to a temple where they weren't worshiping the deities properly, and Radha and Krishna looked like Lord Nrsingadev. I ran out of the temple room as fast as I could. It was scary, because Krishna actually reciprocates with the type of worship. If you're not worshiping Krishna properly, Radharani gets very, very upset. So, that's fear. It's pretty scary. So Krishna was afraid, and he kept running away from Yashoda Mai, even though fear personified is afraid of him. And he couldn't be caught. And so Krishna was afraid of her. And then eventually he saw that she was getting very upset. So let her catch me. Krishna was thinking, okay. She threw away the stick first. Okay, she'd catch me now. Not with the stick, but without the stick. All right, so she catches Krishna and ties his hands, or tries to tie his hands with a rope to the grinding mortar. And the rope always appears like 2 inches too short. So she goes to her neighbors, gets all the rope from the village. You know, you're talking about probably a few kilometers worth of rope. You may think, how could Krishna supply all that rope? Well, he supplied unlimited sari to Draupadi during the attempted disrobing at the gambling match. So he certainly could supply rope to himself or to Mother Yashoda. And she goes to all the neighbors, and the neighbors are laughing at her, it's described, because they're enjoying this pastime. See, Krishna's very humorous, too. That's another indirect ras, humor. So you've experienced like fear there, anger there, and now you have a lot of humor. The neighbors are laughing, but she's completely frustrated. What can I do? And so Krishna saw his mother was just like exhausted, you know, all that rope. It's like, I don't want to compare it to Dushashan, but anyway, it was like Dushashan with the sari. He kept pulling the sari off of Draupadi. He just like, finally had a whole sari shop there. You know, just like as big as this dome. He was a strong guy. And so in the same way, Yashoda kept pulling his rope and just always 2 inches short. And then finally, Krishna says, okay, I'll let her tie me to the grinding mortar. And so he gets tied to the grinding mortar, and he's still upset. So he drags this grinding mortar between 2 Arjuna trees. That's a type of tree. And knocks the trees down, and the residents of Vrindavan come out hearing this crash out on the ground, and they're thinking, oh my God, I hope the boy is safe. And they find these 2 like effulgent personalities praying to Krishna. And they're still thinking, you know, they're not understanding Krishna's God. They're just thinking, this is amazing. What's happening here? So who are these 2 effulgent personalities? These 2 effulgent personalities were previously the sons of Kuvera, a very rich family, like, you know, Bill Gates' sons or something like that. Kuvera is the treasurer of the demigods. He actually has quite an interesting family. Not only did his sons, you know, lose it in this particular case of the story we're telling, but he has a half-brother who is really bad. Actually, several half-brothers. Does anyone know who I'm talking about? Ravana. Who else? Kumbhakarna. And one was good, Vibhishan, and a beautiful half-sister. What was her name? Surpanaka. So, you know, I would say he has a very interesting, I hate to go to one of his family reunions. and he has sons who we're going to hear about who became trees. My sons, the trees. So what happened is that these 2 boys were very proud because they came from a rich family. Queen Kunti says, Janmaishvarya Shrutasya Shivireda Bana Adapuman. People become proud because of wealth, because of beauty, because of intelligence, because of good birth. And they were proud. They thought they could get away with anything. You see that. People win the lottery. People become very rich. They think they can get away with anything. So they thought they could get away with anything. And what they were doing is getting intoxicated in the heavenly planets. Now, in the heavenly planets, there is some sort of intoxication. It's allowed under certain circumstances. But in this particular case, they were getting intoxicated in the Ganges, the heavenly Ganges, Mandakini Ganges. And they were intoxicated with 2 girls, and none of them had, well, let's say they were wearing their birthday suits, just to speak nicely. So they were intoxicated, and they were there drinking this nice intoxication called Varuni beverage. That's one of the things. And they were enjoying, it's described in the Bhagavatam like he-elephants with she-elephants. And so along comes Narada Muni the great sage. And you think, you know, like the sage walks in there, they're going to go, oh, we're sorry, like that, covering themselves up. Well, the girls were more intelligent. They covered themselves up. But Nalakuvara and Manigriva, they just stood up like that. Hi, Narada. And, you know, in polite society, that's really not allowed, especially when Guru Maharaj walks into the room. And Narada is like the sage amongst the demigods. Yeah, he's not the guru of the demigods, that's Brihaspati. But he's like the sage amongst the demigods, it's described. And so Narada gets upset. But when Narada gets upset, he doesn't get upset for his own sense gratification. He gets upset because he wants to try to figure out how to help these two personalities advance in spiritual life. And sometimes people require tough love. So what he does is he curses them to become trees because they've offended him. And not that he's thinking, oh, they've offended me, but he understands that that's bad for their spiritual life, and also offended the Ganges. So he understands that, and he curses them to become trees to live in the house or the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj, which would later be on the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj, for 100 demigod years. And that's a long time. It's not just 100 years of our time. Where each day there is 6 months of our time. So that gives you an idea how long they were there. So Narada Muni was thinking that poverty is actually good. It's a good remedy for their intoxication with material life. So he curses them like that, and then finally, along comes Krishna, as we talked about in the beginning, the first story we told. Along comes Krishna and knocks them down, and they come out of the tree, and they become purified by Narada Muni's mercy, and they go back to the heavenly planets. So, this is all Krishna's arrangement to enjoy Ras with his devotees. So he can enjoy, and the devotees can enjoy Ras, and also so we can hear these wonderful pastimes, be attracted to them, and Raso Varjam, Rasapyasa, Param Drasadi Bhartate, have a higher taste so we lose attraction for things of this world. Incidentally, this story was the first story of Krishna that I heard in this lifetime. And when I heard this, I read it from Srila Prabhupada's Krishna book, I couldn't keep the image out of my mind. And this image of this particular story drew me to the Krishna consciousness movement. So that's proof that even if people don't understand what is being said, and I certainly didn't understand. I understood that there was a little blue boy feeding butter to the monkeys. That I understood. But I didn't understand who the little blue boy was, who Mother Yashoda was, who the monkeys were. They're all great devotees. I didn't understand anything philosophical at all about it. All I knew was the little blue boy was feeding butter to monkeys and sounded cool. And I kept remembering. So this is the miracle that we can experience when we distribute Srila Prabhupada's books. That people may not understand. In the beginning, people won't understand. I've had many instances where people have read the Bhagavad Gita and said, I don't understand it. But they become purified by hearing the words of the Bhagavad Gita, hearing these stories about Krishna, and attracted to Krishna, and ultimately because of that, they will actually, maybe not in this lifetime, just like we were talking the other day about how to gauge success in spreading Krishna consciousness. What is the measure? We had this GBC conference on innovative preaching, which is an interesting conference amongst young people. And they were talking about, you got to measure it. But how do you measure it? Because even if you start someone in Krishna consciousness, even they chant Hare Krishna one time, they read one paragraph, one line in Prabhupada's books, that starts their spiritual life, and eventually they will become Krishna conscious. And that's success. So you can't have standard measures of success, like how many sikas did you make this year? Sikas? Or how many people did you get to put a sari on this year? This is simply external. The question is, how many hearts were touched by our endeavors to give people Krishna? That's really the point. Bhavanti Ritkarna Rasayana Katata Joshana Dashu Apavarga Vartmani Shraddhavratira bhakti anukramishati. So even if you don't understand the tattvas, in other words, the philosophy surrounding this particular story, just by hearing this story and reading it from Prabhupada's books, your mind and heart will be attracted. And ultimately, you will go back to home, back to Godhead. Maybe not this lifetime. Devotional service, Bahunam Janmanamante Gyanavamam Prapachate Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahana Sudurlava. It's success. So that's how we gauge success. And actually, it's stated by Srila Rupa Goswami, yes, by Rupa Goswami and Bhaktivinoda Thakur especially, that even if one chants Hare Krishna once, we offer respects in the mind to such a person. One time. Just like, who was that in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes? That was Gadadhar Das. Okay, Gadadhar Das. Not Gadadhar Das Goswami, but Gadadhar Das, who went to the Qazi. Qazi was the Muslim administrator of that particular district, and he didn't like it that the devotees were chanting Hare Krishna, and he had a temper, a little bit of a temper. So Gadadhar Das thought, I just got to get him to chant Hare Krishna. So he goes to the Qazi in maybe not the middle of the night, but in the evening, and he says, I've got to see him. So he basically breaks into his house or pushes his way into the house, and he says to the Qazi, chant Hare Krishna. And the Qazi says, Gadadhar, just go back home. Tomorrow I will chant Hare Krishna. And then Gadadhar says, you've already done it! Haribol! And then even Prabhupada, when he was reading newspaper articles, when he saw, even if there's some criticism of the Krishna conscious movement, but he said, the Hare Krishna devotees said this, the Hare Krishna devotees said that. We don't like the Hare Krishna devotees stepping in front of our stores in the middle of the day and stopping our business. Prabhupada said, wonderful article. Look how many times they're chanting Hare Krishna, because it will act. The sound vibration of the holy name, the sound vibration of Krishna's pastimes is so powerful. Mantra Murti Amurti Kam. It's so powerful, it's like the deity, Mantra Murti. The deity that actually enters from their ear to their hearts. So this is a wonderful story that we should allow to enter into our hearts. So thank you very much. We finished right on time. All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Damodar ki jai, Lord Damodar ki jai, Yashoda Mai ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, and you have some announcements?
So first of all, let's thank Maharaj for the wonderful narration of Sri Damodar Leela. Haribol! Maharaj gave such a perfect ending to the class where he was actually talking of even once if someone chants Hare Krishna, that's the start of his spiritual life. Once he gets Prabhupada's books, reads one line, that's the potency of the Hare Krishna movement. So thank you so much, Maharaj. Wonderful class. A few quick announcements. So today we have 3 devotees who have sponsored the feast today. So today's feast is sponsored by Uttama Shloka Prabhu and Jayashri Mataji, and this is actually for their Simanto Nayana Yagya, and this is basically the Yagya performed just before the delivery of the baby. So we would like to pray for them that they have very, everything goes well, and so let's really pray to Shri Radha Golokanda, calling out for their mercy to bless them unlimitedly. Let's call out loudly the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare